Until the Argentine Francis, the only pontiff on the American continent, there have been 265 popes. This extensive list spanning more than 2,000 years includes pontiffs famous for their kindness, charisma, execution, or intensity of their apostolate, such as Leo the Great, savior of Rome after negotiating with Antigra, Gregory XIII, promoter of the current calendar, Pius XI, architect of the recognition of Vatican City as an independent state, and John XI, called the Good Pope. However, there have also been popes who have passed down history for their negative legacy, which includes corruption, dissolute living, waste, macabre actions, and other unedifying attributes. We are going to dedicate this video to those pontiffs who have tarnished Christianity with reprehensible behavior, although often consistent with the uses and customs of their times. Let's start. Stephen VI. When talking about the worst popes in history, one of the first to come to mind is Stephen VI, promoter of the Cadaver Council or Corpse Synod. Stephen VI reigned between May 896 and August 897, and in February or March of this year, one of the most extravagant and macabre episodes in the history of the Church took place in Rome. Stephen VI had the body of Pope Formosus, who had died almost a year earlier, unearthed and called a council among the prelates closest to him to judge the dead man. Formoso's corpse was dressed in papal vestments and placed in a chair in the ecclesiastical court for the reading of charges for various crimes that he, obviously, could not hear. As planned before the trial, Formosus was found guilty and his election as pope was invalidated, annulling all acts performed during his reign, including the ordinations of bishops. Next, Formoso's corpse was stripped of his clothing and the 3 fingers of his right hand with which priests customarily impart blessings on him were mutilated. Amid the howls of the populace, the body was dragged through the streets of Rome, burned, and thrown into the Tiber River. Esteban VI ended very badly. In the year 897, there was an earthquake that affected Rome, and the people attributed the calamity to the Pope setting fire to the papal palace with him inside. He was strangled. Benedict IX, Pope who served for 3 terms between 1032 and 1048, he was not only the youngest pontiff in history, but also one of the most questioned. This initial reign was plagued from the beginning by accusations of immorality, simony, and other scandals. He was unemployed for a few months since he was reinstated between April and May 1045 after the forcible expulsion of Sylvester III. However, the brief pontificate was enough for him to sell the position to his godfather, Archpriest John of Gratian, immediately consecrated as Gregory VI. The sale price was 15 pounds of gold, and Benedict gave up the papal dignity to Mary, after which he left Rome. Alexander VI. The future Pope Alexander VI was born as Rodrigo de Borja in the Kingdom of Valencia of the Crown of Aragon in the year 1431 into a powerful nobility family. He was questioned mainly for the several children he had with his lovers, among whom Cesar Borgia and Lucrezia Borgia stood out, and for the corrupt way full of nepotism in which he conducted himself in power, which he always used to obtain the most advantageous conditions for his family. He granted his son Caesar dozens of noble titles and positions of power, including Commander General of the Vatican Army. He was also criticized for the way he used his daughter Lucretia to forge marital alliances that served his political objectives. Leo X. Giovanni de' Medici, son of Lorenzo the Magnificent, became pope in 1513 as Leo X. He was accused of selling indulgences to money donors to finance his pharaonic budget, and during his pontificate the schism led by Martin Luther occurred. In 1517, during the 4th year of Leo X's papacy, Luther nailed his 95th theses to the door of Wittenberg Castle Church in a direct challenge to papal authority, beginning the Protestant Reformation. One of Luther's strongest arguments to promote the reform was precisely the sale of indulgences, as well as other acts that he considered improper on the part of the Church of Rome. The Pope's initial reaction was to dismiss Luther, but as his position gained strength, Leo X hardened his position. In 1520, he issued the bull Exsurge Domini, condemning the writings of the German monk and threatening him with excommunication. Luther's refusal to recant led to his excommunication in 1521, the same year that Leo X's papacy ended with his death on December 1st. Urban VI. He was pope between April 1378 and October 1389, the last pontiff elected outside the College of Cardinals. His reign was marked by enormous conflict between rival sides as part of the Great Western Earthquake that divided the Church between Rome and the French city of Avignon. He imprisoned and even had cardinals executed who he believed were plotting against him, further alienating many within the Church hierarchy. His actions, combined with the schismatic situation, caused widespread disillusionment among the faithful and called into question the very legitimacy and unity of papal dignity. He fell from the mule, probably dying from his injuries. John XII. Proclaimed pope as John XII in December 955, probably just over 20 years old. His youth and the circumstances of his election, largely influenced by family politics, set the stage for a papacy plagued by accusations of impropriety and misconduct. He was accused of turning the papal Lateran Palace into a den of vice, and stories of wild parties, gambling, and other questionable acts became hallmarks of his reign. Beyond his personal conduct, his political decisions also harmed him. In an attempt to counter the growing power of Holy Roman Emperor Otto I, he forged alliances with some of the powerful monarch's adversaries. When Otto attacked Rome, John II had no choice but to escape, returning after the emperor had installed Leo VIII on the papal throne. Sixtus IV. Francesco de la Rovere was consecrated in August 1471 as Pope Sixtus IV, choosing a man who had not been used for more than 1,000 years after the reign of Sixtus III in the 5th century. He is particularly remembered in Spain for the founding of the Spanish Inquisition in 1478 in alliance with the Catholic kings Isabel of Castile and Ferdinand of Aragon. Throughout its more than 3.5 centuries of existence in Spain and its colonies, the Tribunal of the Holy Office of the Inquisition persecuted Jews, Protestants, Moors, Christians, heretics, blasphemers, offenders of the institution and other accused, making using torture to obtain confessions and condemning thousands of people to death at the stake. Boniface VIII. The Italian Benedetto Caetani became a successful student of canon law, attaining the title of cardinal in 1291. He was elected pope in December 1294 as Boniface VIII, possibly after convincing his pious but incompetent predecessor Celestine V to resign. Boniface VIII was an ardent defender of the supremacy of the Church both in spiritual and civil matters. His desire for political domination brought him into conflict with several rulers of his time, including Philip IV of France, whose tax policies affecting the clergy infuriated the Pope. Another of his famous disputes was with the powerful Colonna family, which led to the destruction of several of their cities, including Palestrina, leaving 6,000 dead. He never achieved all the power he craved, and it was not surprising that his excessive ambition led him to a horrible death. He received a brutal beating from those who refused to submit to him, dying on October 11, 1303. July III. Son of a famous Roman jurist, Giovanni Maria Ciacci del Monte was elected pope in February 1550 as a compromise candidate, choosing the name Julius III. While it initially seemed like he was going to be a capable and effective pontiff, his papacy became extremely mediocre and ineffective. For most of the time, Julius III was isolated in his palace of his own free will, attending to his personal pleasures while he stayed out of political and government affairs. It was his relationship with a young man named Innocenzo that most tarnished his name. He discovered the boy in Parma when he was a teenage beggar, and after ascending the papal throne, he took him to live with him, adopting him as a nephew. He granted Innocent the title of cardinal, granting him many other gifts and benefits. His relationship with the young man appeared to be much more intimate than that of an uncle with his nephew, and several reports indicate that Julius III actually made Innocent his lover. Urban II. The Frenchman Odo de Lagery, who became Pope Urban II in 1088, was a talented and skilled diplomat and successful leader. He is mainly remembered for inaugurating a bloody and protracted holy war after launching the First Crusade aimed at recovering Christian sites from Muslims that spanned several centuries across Europe, North Africa, and the Near East. In 1095, the Byzantine Emperor Alexios I requested the help of Urban II to fight against the Turks who had conquered most of Anatolia. The Pope responded with his rhetorical skills, preaching a just war guaranteeing forgiveness of sins to those who joined it. The First Crusade, although it managed to defeat the Muslim forces in Anatolia and the Holy Land, was very costly in human lives. In addition, the Crusaders committed a series of abuses against Muslims, Jews, and even Eastern Christians. We hope this video has been useful to you. If you have anything to add, please share it with us in the comments section.